SOC committee, we're live. In case no one heard, we're live.
Thank you. The Overstock Committee meeting is now in order. And we want to welcome everyone here this evening. So we will have now the public comments or public, oh, I'm sorry, I'm the man. Okay, we're going to have the invocation done by Pastor Jackson. Heavenly Father, we just come before you right now in the matchless name of the Lord Jesus. We praise you and we thank you, Lord God. We thank you, Lord, for this time and this moment, Lord God. We thank you that you will lead, guide, and direct us, Lord, for we can do nothing without you. You said to acknowledge you in all of our ways, and you will direct our path. And we take a look out and see all these youngsters that are here, Lord God, that need your guidance, Lord God, that they will grow to be productive citizens. So you're welcome in this meeting, and we want to say thank you. In the name of the Lord, we pray. Amen. So shall we all stand for the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, now may we have roll call?
Yes. Chair Lara. Let the record reflect, Chair Lara is not here. Vice Chair Jackson,
Here.
Member Hernandez,
Here.
Member Marta Carcamo,
Here.
Member Orozco. Let the record reflect, Member Orozco is not here. Member Rodriguez,
Here.
Member Nguyen,
Here.
we have quorum.
Okay, we will have next the presentation of Community Empowerment Grant recipients, Baldwin Park, East Side Little League.
Vice Chair Jackson, members of the SOC and staff. My name is Christopher Sines. I have the honor of serving as Secretary of Eastside Little League here. I have Joey, who serves as our player agent, and we have Leo, who serves as our equipment manager, coming on behalf of the league board to thank the SOC and the City of Walden Park for its generous contribution to our program. We enrolled 122 players this season. We had 11 teams across 7 divisions. And the contribution from the city and the SOC ensured that any kid that wanted to play baseball or softball in our city had the opportunity today to receive this ceremonial check. We have 19 of our players. We have our T-ball Little Jacks and our T-ball Little Dodgers and Octavio, who played on the Green Sox. So we wanted to present the kids to you and thank you for the generous contribution. And I will let Leo and Joey share any words if they have any.
Thank you so much for the contribution. It's going to help us continue our league. We're just 2 years, our second year running it back in order. So it's nice to have donations to grow our league for more kids to play. Thank you.
Just feeding off what Leo said, just thank you guys so much, because without the help we get, we won't be able to make it run. Thank you guys so much.
Wanted to plug that this was the 71st season. Eastside Little League has been in operation since whatever 71 years ago was. So thank you. 50s. So before the city was incorporated. So I don't know if the kids want to see the picture.
We could have the kids come up to the front so we could present the check.
Thank you.
I've been watching. You should have. There you go. There it's on the bottom. Nicole, Nancy. 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 The bottom's abajo. I'm gonna take one outside. I think better one outside. Make sure that they see it. Yeah, alternate. There you go. Aries. One, two, three posts. Hold it, hold the check. Oh, there you go. All right. Aries, look forward.
Eddie, go more this.
Emma, smile. Right.
Cheese. Okay, count of three. This one first. 1, 2, hold it. Take a few more. We have another 15 cameras.
Everyone's better.
Billy, sit up. Stand up, Billy.
Perdón.
Eyes over here.
Eyes open.
Emma. Billy.
One last picture, please. One last picture. Let's see. Okay, count 3. 1, 2, hold it. We
We're
are.
gonna take it outside too. Take the check outside. Yeah, nobody wants that, right? I don't. Okay, yeah, well, let me just say a few words.
Okay.
But it's gonna hold on, typically now, I have to work on it. Billy, there is, be like 30 hours.
What?
Good evening, committee. I am Veronica Lopez, District Director for Assemblywoman Blanca Rubio, and it is my honor to be here and recognize that little T-ball league co-champions, Little Dodgers and Little Jacks. So we will be presenting them with a certificate of recognition from the state and from Assemblywoman Blanca Rubio. We're so proud, and of course, I'm here on double duty. I'm only here as representative for Assemblywoman Blanca Rubio, but I'm also a proud grandma of the Little Dodger. So thank you.
Right.
But just wanted to put it out there in the record that we're here to celebrate their achievements. We want to congratulate all the coaches and managers and obviously the league for support of all of our community little children, keeping them active and encouraging them for positivity in our community. And to the coaches, thank you so much for your leadership and creating a positive and encouraging environment for all our players. Thank you so much. Have a good evening. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
What? Oh my God, I see that. Gio. Yeah. Thank you so much, and we'll head out so you can continue business at hand. Thank you. Come on, we can go outside now. That's grandma. Thank you. Guys, be nice, and thank you.
Bye. Champions.
Okay, I'll see you soon. Okay.
Are there any other public,
We haven't received any public comment cards at the moment.
okay, anyone out in the audience care to, anyone out in the audience care to make a 3-minute statement?
John Rios, resident. One of the things I was noticing right here that you guys are trying to buy some more trucks. Let's do something for the community first before we could jump into buying any new trucks. Our streets in the sidewalks are most important right here. But the main thing that I have a request, maybe you guys can follow up on it, is City Hall. We had a memorial on Friday. A lot of people that were there, they asked me, how come we have all these cracks on right here in front of City Hall? I've been trying for the past, I would say, 6 years for them to fix that. Let's spend some money on City Hall, make it look good. I had another idea. It's not my idea. It was Anthony's idea. But we have the fountain. Why don't we put a memorial for the fallen officers that we just had? Let's make a memorial right there so everybody could see it. It'll be something beautiful for everybody to see, for not for right now, but for many years to come. But like I say, the sidewalks are the ones that are more important. I've gone through the city. We have sidewalks that are 3, 4, 5 inches out of place. Somebody's gonna fall down, get hurt, and then we're gonna get sued. You know. But I've been working very close with Anthony, and then on the sidewalks especially. And I know he brought it up. Daniel, thank you for bringing that speed bump up. we're getting into the summer where all the kids go to Walnut Creek. And then the other thing, I talked to Enrique during the day. The project over at Barnes, there's people working at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, doing mains, whatever, it's very loud. And then they're starting at 6 o'clock in the morning. And the neighborhood is the one that called me up. That's why I called Enrique. So that's another thing we have to look at, you know. So, but look, let's do some with City Hall. Once and for all, you know, let's make it look right. It should be a proud thing for City Hall to always look good. Thank you.
Is there anyone else for public communication? If not, then we'll go on to new business. But before I go into new business, I want to recognize our fallen officer, Samuel Rivera's, that was killed a week ago, and the wounded officer, Anthony. And I want to say thank you to the police department, their families that serve and protect this nation and our city that gives their lives for us. Man. So with that, we're going into new business. Request for Measure BP funding, traffic calming device, speed bump in Walnut Creek neighborhood, and purchase of the fully electric FEV pickup trucks, Public Works.
So let me introduce the request, Vice Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, and SOC members. You know, the emphasis has been all along, of course, to bring you requests that are of benefit to the community. And there can be obviously different ways in which the benefit to the community can be either directly extracted from any of the requested projects. In today's request, the traffic calming device for Fraser and Ledford, that's clearly a visible physical improvement that will happen in a community street. So there's no question as to whether that's of direct benefit to the community. The other request, interestingly, deals with perhaps a more abstract way of how it can benefit the community and how it will benefit the community. We know that our city is situated in the middle of, well, surrounded by two freeways, the 10 freeway, the 605 freeway, and some would even argue that the 210 freeway is close enough. So in effect, three freeways surrounding the city. And for many years, we have argued that, you know, that is somewhat of an epitome of environmental injustice, with a city being in the middle of or surrounded by three cities and all of the emissions that come from the traffic that runs along the freeways. So we have demanded that quite a bit be done on the external side of our city, meaning, you know, whether there's mitigation or assistance for air pollution reduction measures. And yet there's quite a bit that we can also do from the inside, and that is reduce our own emissions within the city. It's well understood now that the only zero emission vehicle is an electric vehicle. Many cities, ours included, had adopted the CNG, the clean natural gas, or compressed natural gas, as a bridge fuel for many years. The last 15, 20 years, cities went to compressed natural gas, including ours. Some of our fleet is compressed natural gas. Yet we know and understand that compressed natural gas is a fossil fuel and has inherent emissions. Even in spite of all the pollution control systems, whether it's catalytic converters or in the case of CNG filters, there's still emissions that come from it. Much less than gasoline, but still some emissions. The only power source that is zero emissions is electric. And so the state has adopted a state law policy that all new vehicles be electric by 2035. That's only 10 years from now. And while currently there's some dispute between the federal government, US EPA, and the state of California as to whether that's a legal mandate, we know that the state is resolute about going electric because we understand more than almost any other state what it means to have clean air. And so we in the city, thanks to the SOC and the city council, took the very first baby step of going electric. You approved the acquisition and the purchase of a Mach-E Mustang that we unveiled just roughly 5 months ago or so. That's the very first electric and only electric car in our fleet. A fleet of 100 or so cars. Now imagine, we only have 10 years for us to go all electric. We have to take more, I won't even say aggressive. This request today is only for 3 replacement trucks, which you will see and hear a presentation by Public Works as to the age of the fleet, very old fleet. And so these are replacement trucks that, you know, it's somewhat timely to go electric, but it's a very modest next step. By no means is it an aggressive step. So it does benefit the community. We have to go zero emissions for the good of our air quality, especially in our city. So with that, I think Daniel, Anthony, and Lena will have a presentation for you. Who do we start with, Daniel? Lena first? Okay.
Vice Chair,
4.
let me, let the record reflect, Member Orozco is here.
Yes.
Good evening, committee members and staff. My name is Lena Abdullah. I'm the management analyst for the Department of Public Works. And I'm just going to provide a brief introduction about our department before we get into the details of the request. Next slide. So while the Public Works Department is officially 3 different divisions, we divided it into 2 sections based on our operations and what we do. Operations and maintenance, these are just some of the few things that they do, big things, obviously, that they do for us. The other section, next slide, is our admin and engineering section, which is where I work out of. We manage transit. We also are in charge of the CIP projects. And we do land development and permits as well. Next slide. So Public Works is funded almost entirely with special funding, special revenue sources. We only get less than 1% of our funding through from the general fund. And the amount that we do get is to meet a match in order to qualify for these other special funding sources. And each of these sources has specific requirements as far as reporting and planning. And so it takes a lot of work to ensure that we get these funds. So I just wanted to go over a few of these funding sources with you today, the major ones. The first one is gas tax and SB1. Gas tax is mostly used for personnel costs. SB1 is a lot more restrictive and it can only be used for transportation related projects, maintenance and or rehabilitation activities for the streets. The next source is local returns, and those are LA County taxes that we get back. That is Prop A, Prop C, Measure M, and Measure R, and we get those through Metro. And these funds are very transit oriented. Prop A can only be used for transit operations. Prop C expands it a little bit, allows us to support transit. And then Measure R and Measure W are a little bit less restrictive as well, in that they allow us to do work on the infrastructure that supports the transit routes. We have an annual audit every year that Metro does, and they look specifically at everything that we're using these for, and any projects have to be approved ahead of time with Metro. The next one is we have assessment districts. We have our lighting, our landscape and lighting maintenance district, and our park maintenance districts. And just like the title says, that's what they're used for, is lighting the city, our traffic signals, and then park maintenance. And the next one is Measure W. Measure W has two different programs. That we have a municipal side and we have a regional program. The regional program is the grant that we received that is funding most of Barnes Park and that underwater storm capture project at Barnes Park. We also have a local return portion, the municipal program. And these funds can only be used for stormwater and urban runoff capture, treatment, and reuse. We mostly use those for CIP projects as well as ongoing programs and our maintenance department in order to ensure that that we're meeting all of the requirements for the stormwater and runoff capture. Our last and biggest source of funding is our grants. And this is also the most restrictive. Most of the time, these grants are competitive grants, which means we have to be very specific on what we're using the funds for, what project, and how we're going to use it, project scope. They get very detailed. So these are probably the most restrictive of all of our funding sources. That's just to give you some background on our funding, and then I'm going to pass it over to Anthony.
Next slide, please. Good afternoon, SOC members. My name is Anthony Vasquez, and I'm the Public Works Operations Manager for the City of Baldwin Park. I will be discussing the request for Measure BP funds, and we had classified into two different categories. One's installing traffic calming devices in an area near Walnut Creek Park. The second one will be talking about the acquisition of 3 full EV vehicles for the department and its operations. Next slide. So traffic calming devices. Traffic calming devices come in many forms. In the picture seen here, we have a picture of some speed cushions that we've used in the city. We've also used speed humps and speed bumps. Traffic calming devices also come in rumble strips, alert signs or LED advanced warning signs, and even some curb markings or pavement markings seen out in the street. Next slide. So the main objective for traffic calming devices is to improve safety and efficiency in the roadways. The 3 main points we want to highlight here is to reduce vehicular speeds, discourage cut-throughs, and also increase safety for all road users, including bicyclists and pedestrians. Next slide. So the next category, or next slide, kind of discusses the overview of our fleet, specifically for public works operations. And these are mainly, it's not including our heavy equipment, but specifically our vehicles. We have a total of 26 vehicles. 7 of them are within a range of 1 to 5. Another 7 are in the range from 5 to 10. And then the last 12 are older than 17 years old. The oldest being a 26-year-old dump truck. It still runs, but it's heavily used, especially during emergencies. And that's when you probably will see the last time we use it is like, either flooding or even like the January windstorm. Very much needed, has, saved us a lot of times, reduces the need for any contractual labor, and gets the job done in a quick manner. Next slide. So we're talking about the 3 vehicles that we are going to request for the Measure BP funding, is specifically the Ford Lightning. Ford Lightning kind of fits in that category, approved by the state mandate, as a vehicle, heavy duty vehicle that meets the gross vehicle weight that it's required by CARB in order to meet that mandate that Enrique Zaldivar mentioned earlier. And the number 3 would meet our requirement this year in order not to fall behind our current schedule to have our vehicles replaced by 2035. Again, state law requires us to transition to a fully electric vehicle fleet. Kind of difficult right now as the technology is still not there for the bigger trucks, but for the medium size, like shown in the picture, it fits perfect to meet our needs. It's a modest step in meeting our goal. It'll be useful in our day-to-day operations. It'll be utilized in 3 different divisions of Public Works. And, it's being used by other cities in the same situation that we're in. Next slide. And that's the last slide. Welcome to take any questions that you may have.
I have just a quick question. So you mentioned that we'll be going fully electric in the next 10 years. The one that I know we had a presentation, I forgot which, in March 2024 about the pickup truck that was leased. Is that different? Is that one electric as well? Is that one different compared to the ones that are asking for today? Can you explain a little bit on that?
It's similar in the sense that it's going to be built similarly, but that one is a gas vehicle. That was a gas powered vehicle for our park maintenance group.
Wasn't it a F-350?
F-250.
250?
Yes.
So this is F-150.
F-150.
So it's a heavier engine, bigger engine.
Bigger engine.
Can you explain the difference between those two? Just so that, because I think you mentioned throughout the presentation that you all use very different trucks and machinery, and just to give us example of those differences of what kind of tasks would be used with that one compared to these, and will that one fall in compliance because it's leased? Doesn't mean that we wouldn't need it to be electric then?
The reason we went with gas, it was more readily available, and like as you can tell, like roughly little over 50% of our fleet is newer, but like I think 40% is 17 years and older. So the need was immediate, and that's why we requested something that was probably dealer stock and available, and it was available through our procurement process. It's a heavy duty vehicle, which the towable payload is higher than what this would be in the F-150.
I got a question regarding the same the pickup truck that we approved it a year ago. It hasn't been spent. Is there a reason why? And if we do approve the 3 today, how long is that gonna take for you to urgently put it into use?
You said the 2024 hasn't been spent?
Well, it says we approved 74,931 and available balance is still that much.
No, we received that vehicle, the 2024, last year's Measure BP.
This year. I'm just reading from whatever provided to me.
No, we did receive it. We did order it. It did take roughly 6 to 8 months to get it, and then from there send it out to the AME vendor to upfit the vehicle. So it did take longer than usual. Like these vehicles, especially our specialty vehicles, they do take longer than expected. This one, it's rough to say. I did get quotes from a dealer versus a lease. So these are dealer stock. So these are readily available. The longer turnaround time is going to be the upfit, but these vehicles will require minimal upfitting.
Anthony, is there a waiting list for the Lightning? I know for a while those they were taking interest, the reservations.
So yeah, initially the Ford Lightning was the latest and greatest and the trend where we're going to. But speaking with the dealership that we've been reaching out for quotes, he does have some of these in stock.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so, well, I'm still stuck on the amount not spent,
Okay.
but, for the three vehicles that you're proposing, is there anything that this pickup truck cannot do that we need another three?
I like another.
Like, because we are short three, we need another the three? Or is it because we are trying to get ahead of the 10 years plan?
Yeah, we're trying to stay on track. Currently we only have one EV vehicle. Like CARB has kind of schedules set aside for either you take this pathway or a second pathway. With the pathway that we chose, requires us to have at least three by the end of this year. We've so far replaced 7 vehicles, which are the ones we show that are within 1 to 5 years. Within that ratio, we should have at least 3. So we're not technically allowed to buy another truck without having 3 electric vehicles already in route or in the process of purchasing.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
I'd like to add few words. I don't know if we can put that slide that shows the current Public Works fleet of 26 vehicles. I apologize for that slide. It's not very clear on that slide, but it shows that 11 of the 26 vehicles, or 44% of the Public Works fleet, is over 17 years old. So in addition to us wanting to replace the vehicles with, electric vehicles, many of these vehicles have reached past their useful life where the cost to maintain them is very inefficient. And these vehicles need to be replaced regardless, if whether they're electric or not. Because having 44% of your fleet with being vehicles that are over 17 years old is really not the not an industry standard or not where we want to be. I mean, we need to replace replace all of those vehicles, and we'd like to comply with the state laws, and that's why we're proposing these electric vehicles. And again, I apologize for that slide, but the yellow reads vehicles that are 17 years old. There's 11 of them, and that's 44% of the Public Works fleet. The red are the newer vehicles that are between 1 and 5 years old. We have 7 of those vehicles, which is 28% of our fleet. And then the orange slice of the pie there is vehicles that are between 5 and 10 years old. We have 7 of those, and that's 28% of the Public Works fleet. And I think, Anthony, you can expand on this, but I believe that the Public Works fleet has higher volume of the older vehicles, pretty much in the entire city.
Yeah, and that's correct. We try to prioritize, obviously the needs of all city departments, and subsequently we take the back seat to replacing some of our vehicles. But like the need, especially going through this year, we've had to kind of respond to 3 major events. January windstorm kind of brought light to like how important vehicles are to meet the demands of the residents and respond in a quick and timely fashion. Currently, we have at least 3 different individuals that are using vehicles that are kind of available to us due to vacancies from other departments. That's not really a way to operate for a public works department. We're using a cold vehicle just because they have a vacant position and it just sits there. We're using recycled vehicles from other departments. We're still in good condition, but we're talking about a 2005 or 2007 vehicle that is constantly in the shop after you use it for a couple of weeks straight. And then we have our mechanic here. So Joe LeCitra, he's our lead mechanic. He could tell you a little bit more about what his life encompasses, his day-to-day encompasses, and the toll it takes for the fleet maintenance division on making sure that these vehicles are up and running and enable us to do our job.
I'll just add that the city needs a reliable, high-quality fleet. I mean, this is absolutely a benefit for the community. I mean, these are the city's vehicles.
I do have maybe a statement and then a question. So I understand the environmental factors and how we're kind of we're in a situation where, we're all trying to have a better health and cut all these extra negative environment hazards like, the vehicles and the emissions and all of that. I don't think that the path that we're taking is I don't want to say the smart move, but we have 10 years until the state law enacts that law, right? 2035. So I feel like we're rushing too much into it. If we have, even though we have vehicles that are older, 17 years, 5 to 10 years old, if they're still in good use or still usable, why not continue to use them until we cannot and leave these funds to make a bigger difference in the community? Not to say that this wouldn't, I think this would help, obviously, the community, it would serve the community. I just think that, I would like to hear what other path you gave up in choosing the path of getting 3 new vehicles at this moment, versus what other path was the option and why we chose this fast path.
Well, this path is the slower path. The other path would have been a 1-to-1 ratio. So every time we buy or lease one gas-powered vehicle, we would have to get an electric vehicle. So this is the slower path. And then I know we're focusing on the Public Works at 26, but that mandate applies to all city vehicles, including Parks and Rec, administration, other departments, and excluding police.
What's the total fleet, Anthony, for the city?
114.
114. So, envision trying to replace 114 vehicles, even over 10 years for a small city our size. It would be a shock if we try to do it in a hurry. So we feel like we're all already somewhat behind, even though it seems like 10 years away. I mean, literally, if we do 2-3 vehicles per year, in 10 years, that's only 30 vehicles, right? So, it's, I said at the beginning, it's not by any means an aggressive step. It's actually a very modest next step. And, the development of the infrastructure that will come with going electric would also mean the charging infrastructure, which in itself will require, as you said, board member, a more thought out strategy because, as the fleet increases, electric fleet increases, we definitely need a charging infrastructure. So interestingly, the folks at the school district already began acquiring electric vehicles, and they're going to develop a charging infrastructure, which we have agreed in concept that we should do it together so that we can leverage both theirs and our resources and share the charging infrastructure, whether it's at their facilities or at ours. They have more facilities than we do. So the odds are that we will probably choose one of their locations and maybe one of ours. So, that larger strategy does require a lot bigger investment, but it's important that we take these modest steps now in moving toward electrification.
Are there any other steps that you're taking now in pursuing other vehicles?
At this moment, no. The last vehicle we did obtain was one funded through the Measure BP. And that is the last vehicle that we have received. But just touching on what Enrique was saying, adding 3 electric vehicles and, not kind of having a source to charge them, that's something that we as a department are trying to do that, using our own funds and our own staff, working with our contracted electrician, because we have the facilities at the yard. We just need the chargers and then run conduit, and then the electrician would do all the tie-ins. So that's something that we are also in line planning to have at our city yard. Not a fast charger. It's one of those, was it the type 2 chargers? So it's something that we can actually park a vehicle and leave it there for an extended period of time. And then by the next, it'll be ready for us to use. So there's many things that we are doing and not just asking for money just to buy the vehicles. The infrastructure is important because obviously how good is a vehicle without a fuel source, but as far as additional vehicles, no, we have not had any other sources of funding or asked for purchasing a vehicle, at least not as of yet.
Yeah, and I will add that as Lena was describing our funding sources, we are extremely limited on those funding sources that we can use to purchase vehicles. And member Mata Carcamo, we have been delaying purchasing new vehicles. And that's why, close to half of our fleet is over 17 years old, because we haven't been replacing them because we're working with those older vehicles. So that's exactly what we've been doing. We haven't been replacing the vehicles as often as we'd like to minimize maintenance costs and have a more efficient fleet. So we have been doing exactly what you're asking us to do. But to have close to half of your vehicles being 17 years old, they're close to being past their useful life, which is why we're requesting to replace these 3 vehicles.
I have a question. Where have you sought funding for vehicles besides the SOC committee?
So, I'll have to ask, maybe Rose can help. When we have 7 vehicles that are between 1 to 5 years old. So I'm not exactly sure on what fund we use to purchase those vehicles. Could have been one-time only ARPA funding, or special one-time sources we get from a state or federal grant.
Yeah, so prior to that, the one I described in 2024, the Measure BP funded vehicle, we've used all our special funding. We've used the Waste Integrated Waste Management Fund, the 246, gas tax, ARPA funding. A lot of those fundings, we were able to procure a group of vehicles at once. And that's how we were able to replace a lot of the administration vehicles for PD, a lot of the vehicles for Parks and Rec, and a lot of our vehicles, which in that category of 1 to 5 years, allowed us to not get the onesie, twosie vehicles at a time, but we're talking about 6, 8, 12. We just often sometimes take the back seat and make sure that we're able to provide our other departments vehicles, because we're talking about probably 8, 9 years ago. The majority of our fleet, we're talking about, they were all at 17 years old or older, and that's not a way for any department to kind of fulfill its needs or the community's needs and the services without having the proper vehicle, the proper tools to complete our day-to-day stuff.
I just wanted to make a note regarding infrastructure, electric vehicle charging infrastructure. The more we're able to build our electric vehicle fleet, it'll make us eligible for grants that we can apply for in order to bring in that infrastructure for those electric vehicles. But it's kind of this like place where it's like the infrastructure and the vehicles. If we can procure the vehicles first, it'll make us eligible for grants for infrastructure to support the charging for those vehicles.
if these vehicles are not bought within this year, would that stop any? Like, would that stop anything from happening or the servicing of the community? Or would we be able to utilize the other vehicles that if these three are not replaced?
Yeah, we would just continue as we always just, within our means. Like we've been trying to do our day-to-day stuff with these older vehicles, and obviously there's a chance of a breakdown at any moment. Something as simple as maybe a minor oil leak to something more severe as a transmission problem. That's the gamble we take the longer we have these vehicles out in the field.
I think we can all relate to what it's like, much like the point that was made about the look of our city hall. You know, if we have broken sidewalks or uplifted sidewalks or concrete decks here within City Hall, the same holds true of any of our city vehicles that are servicing residents. And if it breaks down in front of somebody's home or in the street, and people say, well, what is this? It's like you can't even keep your cars running. It's obviously not the kind of service levels that you would want the residents to receive from us if we spending half our time towing vehicles from the street into the shop for Joe to work on them. We don't work on cars on the street, do we, Joe? Well, don't do it anymore.
We want Joe to keep his job, so as long as we have him, I guess, and staff, it'll help us, kind of utilize the vehicles as long as we can before we purchase new ones. Sometimes, and I know my mom usually says this, don't fix what's not broken yet. So for me, we've already, allocated funding for a vehicle. Last year, I don't know that not funding 3 vehicles today would break us definitely. So it's just me, but I'll let everyone else speak.
Anybody else have a comment?
I have 2 questions for you, Chris. Putting the wagon in front of the horse here. We're trying to buy vehicles and the charging stations we don't have. There is a major cost on that side of charging stations if your yard don't have abilities to come in, but be an Edison. My experience, because I'm an electrician and I run into it all the time. So we try to put in charging stations and the block don't have enough KVMs to run all charging stations. It's going to be a major infrastructure cost. It may be this half what these vehicles cost to put that infrastructure in.
So the chargers that we plan on utilizing are not DC fast chargers. We met with our electrician out at our facilities at City Yard a while back. Once we upgraded to these large commercial solar panel systems, they upgraded our system. So it's one, buying the chargers, and 2, running the pathways from service to chargers. So we looked at maybe from $30,000 total to have these chargers in place.
For the 3 vehicles,
Correct.
an additional $10,000 per vehicle.
Correct. But that would come out of our operations. That's something we were planning on doing.
So that you would be able to do, once the fleet grows, you definitely have to go fast charging. You're right, Greg. For small number of vehicles, the level 1 or level 2, which are $3,000, $4,000 would do, which is what they plan to do for up to the first 3. As the fleet grows, then definitely fast charging. That's when we would go with the school district to try to develop a joint infrastructure.
Yeah, and like in our case, we could actually just park and leave it overnight charging in the sense so that by the time in the morning, it'll be ready and fully to be utilized.
And last thing, F-150 Lightning, that's towards trim, crop trim kit. Are we buying a truck with leather seats and all the bells and whistles? Or are we in the middle somewhere?
No,
That 78,000's a big number.
yeah, and that's because it comes with the extended battery, which is the long range battery. So it gives us a capacity of around 300, a little over 300 miles on one charge. And then that's what was available within that parameter that we set, so that in order to qualify for the CARB requirement of the gross vehicle weight. So that extended battery allows us to meet the criteria for CARB.
Have we looked into other makes and models, Chevy, Dodge, et cetera?
Correct. We look
Just a
at,
comp that we think is the best one suited for us?
so the reason we try to stick with one make and specifically for our fleet, so that they have just Ford parts available. And sometimes these parts are interchangeable, and especially for the maintenance of the vehicles. So the majority of our vehicles are Ford. And then that goes across, all departments.
And the last question is additional $10,000 for special equipment. I can't find it here.
Yeah.
Aftermarket equipment. That for what?
Lighting, cab guards, like spotlights, majority lighting in like a bin, a crossbody bin.
Okay.
I have one more question. Have you gone to the city council for funding in regards to these vehicles?
Not specifically with these vehicles, but in the past, we have gone to city council for vehicles. And that's how the majority, if not all the vehicles, except the one we have last year funded by Measure BP, has been funded through our special funds approved by city council.
I think it'd be a great idea to go to city council first, and depending on what we hear there, and we can see, because these are other extra funds that we, would like to allocate to, diverse projects within the city that are going to help our community. So just a thought, I think it'd be a good idea to also seek there.
Anyone else come in? Okay.
I have some more comments. If we can hear from your mechanic, and what I would love to understand just for our perspective is what's the difference this is gonna make? Because as you mentioned, the trucks that you have 17 years older, that's not really a way to run a city. And I understand that these are really kind of on track in order to keep us in compliance. What's the impact of those trucks, that how many times they usually break down when they're out of order? What does that impact? And does that mean your department is now days behind the schedule, weeks behind the schedule? Does it put you behind where we can see the impacts? How long does those trucks usually stay in there for? The dire need of why we need these three, I think would help escalate for us the importance of getting these vehicles in today rather than waiting for city council, because the work Public Works does is super important. It keeps our city running. I would love to see that comment right now to be like, here's why we need it today rather than waiting another 6 weeks to go to city council.
I don't know if Joe wants to come up here. He's kind of shy, but
Joe, you gotta come up, like.
Yeah, or just to add to that, I think that's a great point. To have some sort of, tangible, presentation as to, since we last met, like this is how many times this truck has broken and this is how much it's costing us and all of that.
Today, because the mechanic knows,
Yeah.
like Joe, you probably know from the back of the hand, like you said, this is your job, this is your livelihood. I'm sure if you're working, like you're like, actually it's taking me overtime by like this many days now working on this truck, and it's costing Anthony right here behind schedule from like 10 days on a project that should have been done only 2, but because we have lacked these materials, we no longer can get this done in time. But if you give us these trucks today, we can ensure these projects are gonna go from being 2 months to like 1 month.
Just
What are
off the
those
top
impacts?
of my head, I can think of, say, a graffiti vehicle that would break down, that would put his graffiti crew back. It could be 2 to 3 days, depending on what the actual issues with the vehicle. We have to diagnose it first to see what it is. If it's a majority of the items we handle in-house, but if it can't be, then we have to farm it out, and that could add more delay depending on the time frame that the dealership has or the other shop has to fix the problem. So off the top of my head, I could just think of the graffiti. There is some other, say a chipper truck, that if it breaks down, like if there was an issue during the storm where they had to move branches and get them chopped up, truck's not available. So branches have to be either dragged off or hand cut with a chainsaw. So that pushes.
Would that take, because the chipper truck is down, it isn't repaired because it's 17 years. Now we have to put more man on there to cut him down. What's
Yes.
that taking now?
Yes. So it could be a 2-man crew that could fill up that truck. Now you're looking at maybe you need 6 or 7 and maybe 3 other vehicles to do what they could take care of with that.
How long will that take, and what's the danger of shutting that down? What's the liability of people right there? Now that tree's broken down in front of my house. What am I thinking? What's the danger to the pedestrians?
It
And
could
that are
be
right
if,
there.
if he can't dispatch people to properly take care of it, yeah, it could be a delay in there while they could be working on another location. Instead of having 2 people in different locations, now he's got to make the manpower go to one location to take care of a problem, and other locations will be left out. It could be a delay of a couple days. It could be more. It could be up to a week.
Quick question. How many vehicles do we have? We have 17 allocated to Public Works?
26.
26. Okay, so if that one is broken, there's 25 others that they can.
They're all different. They're all different vehicles. So they're weighted are differently. So like the F-350 you spoke of earlier, that could tow a water buffalo, which is a trailer that holds about 500 gallons of water. So an F-150 wouldn't be able to tow that, but it would also serve a purpose to, like, say, for smaller crews, like in the park or landscaping or the graffiti crew. So there is a difference why we can't just get all the same vehicle. Although it would be a lot simpler, they're just tasked, they're weighted for different things.
Generally, the replacement policy for vehicles is based on either on service years or mileage. Anything over 10 years, we're stretching it. Anything over 15 years is almost irresponsible.
Right.
But, we don't have such a policy.
We have been irresponsible for a while because we have some that are 17 years old.
So I said almost irresponsible. Okay. But we don't have a policy because we may not be able to stay with it. And so, yes, can we operate in a way that, we end up having a mechanic roaming around in the streets just to see which car breaks down? We're almost getting to that point. But so I think, with regards to whether the department or myself in this matter, whether we have a preferred choice of coming to Measure BP versus any other funding source, we come to you first, and then we go to City Council if you support it. We don't go to City Council if you don't support it, obviously. So all other alternative funding sources have been exhausted, and you should expect that from us before we come to you. So if the department or me, I'm your gatekeeper. I may not be a good one, but I'm your gatekeeper. And before I bring something to you, it's because we've exhausted or we've looked elsewhere, or whether I do a merit review. And ultimately, it's your review. So they're coming to you because we've already exhausted any other funding options. The infrastructure, yes, that's going to be costly, but there's going to be a plan to get us there. It's not going to be this year, it's going to be in a couple of years. But, I think it's important that we as the city, and you're the fleet manager for the all the city, not just Public Works, and 100 and some vehicles that you have to move toward electrification, that's all on you. Well, not all on you. I'm saying it's on you. with the assistance of the other departments. So, I know that they're more than worried about ensuring that they move the city in that direction. And this is just one modest next step. But is it urgent? Is it an emergency? It's not. But, we're already in the gray zone, if you will.
And if I can, because I know that the discussion about what happens if a vehicle goes down, and that did happen in January during the windstorm where we utilized every single truck. Like Joe stated, like some vehicles are especially outfitted for the specific need. A graffiti truck has 3 pumps and stencil racks and water gallon. That's not something you would go use to trim a tree or pick up branches, but we did because we had no other option. Once a vehicle goes down, we don't just say we stop and come out with no solutions. We try to see how can we get it done. If we have to consolidate crews to approach that and do it by hand, we will. Is that the most efficient way to do it? It's not. Last resort, we dispatch our contractor. That's something that's not designing our budget for our grid trimming, because now that trickles down to affecting our grid trims. Now we're budgeted for 3 to 5 years. Now we're prolonging that because we use some of our funds to take care of emergencies. Now we're going 4 to 6 years. And that's a chain reaction that causes just by something that, because we don't have available trucks or tools.
I have a question here. You've been once and got recipients from stock, right? Is there a continuation of supplying to diversities of businesses that need the stock money? How do we deal with that on a continuous when we have different people that are in need of stock money, and we're the gatekeepers of that money? And I see and understand that this is as important as everything else. And I try to weigh things out from a scale 1 to 10. What's the most important thing that we need to do, and to issue out the money, and to whom we issue out the money? On a 1 to 10, how important is this that you receive that? Number one. And number two, is it okay to receive for 1 instead of 3? Could you tell me what you feel about that?
We just feel that the 3 will meet the requirements and the need on 2 levels. One, by the state mandate, and 2, we do need vehicles, period. And just having electric vehicles that just kind of does get what's the saying, 2 birds with 1 stone. We would appreciate the 3. We need the 3, but if we could get 2, we could get 1. At this point, we need trucks.
Okay. Anybody else? And go ahead.
By getting these new trucks, what will be the savings and maintenance? Because I know trucks or new cars or trucks, they have new technology that requires a computer to connect it to the computer, so a computer can give you a diagnosis and let you know the problem of that vehicle. What will be the savings? Let's say that you require these 3 trucks. What will be the savings?
I think, well, that's a loaded question. Savings in fuel, that's 1. 2, the maintenance of an older vehicle versus a new vehicle. Like sometimes it's uncertain when that older vehicle will go down. Joe just referenced the latest, which is graffiti, and then the chipper truck that did go down. One of our CNG trucks, is currently leaking CNG. That's not something where you should have an employee drive around with a leaking CNG. So we take to the shop. So there's going to be a lot of savings. Just on maintaining vehicles and not having to spend a lot of downtime and money on servicing these trucks.
Mr. Vice Chair, I wanted to just remind you that the city council is having a special meeting tonight at 7. So if we can, we have to leave the chamber by 6:45.
Okay. So if there are any other questions, first of all, we're going to vote on this, right?
Yep.
And there are two issues here are connected together. Should we vote on it as individuals or as the whole package here? That's the speed bump. I mean, the calming.
You can vote on each of the two requests. You can vote on the traffic calming device by itself, and then you can take up the other vote separately.
Okay, well,
So-
we'll go ahead.
Just for transparency, we don't have to vote. We can choose to wait until they go to city council and come back or show us more stats on the savings and cost and all of that. So we technically don't have to vote unless we want to vote. But there is another, one of the things that was brought up was the calming device. So I don't know if you want to.
I definitely want to vote on that, get that taken care of. The calming device to be set up there.
Ask Chris, I mean, I know exactly where this is at. Is this gonna be like a speed hump type of device or is it gonna be something else?
It's going to be more than a speed hump. It's going to be the speed hump, the pavement markings, and a flashing stop sign. So it's multiple layers to that solution.
Okay. And that's what that costs, 15,000 in our city.
Correct.
Okay.
I do have a question. Do we know how many, I mean, this is over on Fraser and Ledford. I could mention so many other streets that are in need of speed bumps. Have we done some sort of survey or research as to how many speed bumps are needed for safety around our schools and our parks? Like that one's close to a park, I believe. That's what was mentioned earlier. Have we looked at also around schools? Because I know over on the other side of the city, there's a huge need. There's been a lot of, I mean, I see it every day. I'm not saying this is not a need. I'm just saying, have we done any research as to the needs within the city of where else is there a need besides this one speed bump? And if we have, if we can see that, or why are we choosing this one versus any other?
And we are currently working at 2 other locations and doing like the studies to make sure that they qualify. But like anyone can request a speed hump or speed cushion or some kind of traffic calming device, whether it's a sign, curbage. And then once we receive those requests, obviously engineering would have to do their part and then to do surveys. And then once that survey results come in, our director would review, approve or deny, and then it goes to maintenance or it goes through the capital improvement project.
So this one specifically came in as a request from a constituent or as a community member?
It came in originally from a community member, and then upon visiting the site, more than the community member neighbors did come out, and then we saw many issues at that location. It's not a true T intersection. There's a line of sight problem, and people just tend to just take it for granted that it's a cul-de-sac and just run the stop sign, and that's the main reason why we saw the need for a speed hump or a traffic calming device.
Have we looked at the cost of a speed bump versus any other form of a traffic calming device like that, those signs that, I don't know how much those cost, if those like slow down signs or the ones that tell you like what your speed limit is, so you can kind of be cautious or maybe I mean, I just want to look at other options.
Or that one,
It's just the speed bump.
I go to that area very frequently, Walnut Park, I think is one of our very nice parks in Baldwin Park. Um, it would need a divide, like a speed bump, speed hump at the minimum, just because the other signs, it's very, very like tight and people speed through it very, very often. That the signs won't work on that. That has to, from my own experience being there, being a constituent who uses that, I think it would need to be a speed bump or hump, definitely.
Yeah, I go through
even-
there almost, I was just there 2 days ago, taking pictures of my little one at the bridge. So I love going to that facility and I do see that, but I also go to the other, to the other parks and the other side of the city a lot. And I do see the need as well over there, but
So, Board Member Mata, you can ask us as staff to also, at a future meeting, bring you back an inventory of requests that have come in.
I think that'd be a great idea is to bring in the request because I didn't know that it was a community member that brought it in or that requested that one. And then also the input that you received from the community members around or the neighbors that came out. And then also I think it'd be a good idea for us to look at the kind of like stats on and fund and amounts on the cost of a speed bump versus this versus that and stats on what would be better suited for that location. Not saying no, I'm just saying like, I think it'd be a good idea than just, kind of vote on, this is what we were presented to us. And I wouldn't know how much it costs, to be honest.
Well, that's the determination that, because the resident will represent to the department, we have an issue with speeding cars, for example. So then the department comes out and does an assessment and they make a determination of what is the most suitable, appropriate, always keeping in mind that the simpler, the better. They don't want to escalate it to it, say if it requires a full traffic study or a full traffic count, like a stop sign or a light signal probably requires a full study, no? This one doesn't require an engineering study, correct?
And that's good
So if I
information for
may-
us to know, Enrique.
Yeah,
I
so-
did not know that.
So, we get requests, in other agencies I've worked for. Unfortunately, we cannot, proactively, go to every single intersection. We rely on the public to bring complaints to us. Then we do a engineering study. We look at volumes, we look at speeds, we look at pedestrian activity, we look at accident data. I mean, there's state laws that provide guidance on how we handle these complaints. We can't just do whatever somebody wants us to do, whether even whether it's, a city council member or what have you, we have to support it with data. We have to be consistent in our findings. We can't just, want to please a member of the community. We need to document that and be consistent. And there's many tools that we use that, in my engineering opinion, are best for certain locations and situations. So there's judgment calls that I have to make, and I can't make everybody happy. If I decide I want to, if I feel that blinking LED stop signs and a speed hump is the best case, we will discuss it with engineering staff and make that decision, right? You might not like that idea, but it's my decision as the Public Works Director and City Engineer to make those tough decisions because they're not easy decisions to make. So that's how we handle traffic calming complaints. And they take time, right? If we get 10 complaints, I mean, we're dealing with a lot of other projects, a lot of other projects and land development projects or CIP projects, just different things that we can't respond as quickly as we would like to every single traffic calming measure. So we do like a triage. Like you go into the hospital, is this an emergency situation or is this more of a minor inconvenience that we can put it on the back burner a little bit so we can prioritize the more emergency issues. So that's something that I do when I get traffic calming requests. I would love to make everybody happy, but also, speed bumps is not ideal because on arterials or collector roadways, emergency vehicles do not like speed bumps or speed humps. So it's a little bit complicated. So what we're requesting tonight is to let us do traffic calming at this location and that we feel are best for the city.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. And maybe for future requests of these kinds, it'd be great to know, like, this was assessed, like, this is the best thing for this place. We've already done all the due diligence. I just thought, like, this community members requesting a speed bump, and the speed bump is what you approved, and we're just gonna go ahead with that plan. But if you have assessed it, you're the expert, I'm not the expert. And if you think that the speed bump is the best thing to put there, and that is why you are requesting it, then, I cannot, I can't complain about that. But it'll be good for us to know, like, all of this was submitted, all this data was done. We already did an assessment, and this is the best thing for this place at this, the speed bump at that location.
Yes.
So due diligent on this. Shall we take a vote on this?
On the speed,
On the speed
how many
bump,
twice?
and on the other, bring it back at another time, any requests of what they need to bring back with them, maintenance of vehicles, any other things on that?
I would like just a general question. This year, how long has a vehicle been in the shop for? 1 week, 3 months, the entire year? Has it growing plants on it? Well, what is for Public Works?
A vehicle's been in the repair shop 6 months.
6 months, and that's a
Multiple.
transmission issue, transmission. Okay, I'm aware of, I had last year, my truck had a PCM issue and it took 9 months to get the part. So is it a part issue or is it a dollar issue?
Part.
Okay.
Okay, the speed bump. We're
Speed
going
bump,
to,
speed bump, I'm ready.
vote on it. Anybody making a motion?
Make a motion.
I'll second that motion.
Roll call.
Member Hernandez,
Yes.
Member Marta Carcamo,
Yes.
Member Orozco,
Yes.
Member Rodriguez,
Yes.
Member Nguyen,
Yes.
Vice Chair Jackson,
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay. And the other issue to bring it back at another time.
Yes.
Okay. All right. The next one, I guess we going into a financial.
Just for Public Works, because it is being delayed, I think what would help the stock committee decide in order to fully fund this. Just for Joe, we're gonna have to ask for your presentation too, of be like, this is what the shops as my fellow members have said, like, these are the shops this truck has been out of commission, so it's delayed this project. And it's cost us the city of being like, now we're delayed this many days. Something like that, I think might help persuade them.
Russ, number 2, I think did you call the item number 2, Mr. Vice Chair? Yes.
Yeah.
Financial.
Good evening, some members. I am going to provide you the update for the measure BP sales tax as of May 31st, 2025. In May, we received $735,000, and which bring us a total revenue, including interest, in the amount of $15,742,000. We have proposed 12 program and projects. 11 of them have been approved. I understand question has been raised about the full-size crew cab pickup truck, and this truck has been received by Public Works based on these programs. That's why the funding has not been fully spent. I will work with Public Work and provide you an update in the next meeting, see how much we have spent on the annual leases and how many years that we will have the contract for this lease program. And so far, we have committed 4.595 million for the 11 programs and projects. And we have about 3.7 million that has not spent it and have the balance for these 11 programs. And as of May 31st, we have about $11.152 million in the projected fund balance. This will conclude the updates, and thank you.
I would like to ask you a question here. We have the available balance and then we have the balance. Is that available balance included in this available balance? The available balance is what they have not used, which has been allocated for use. Am I right or Armand or what?
Yes, I can clarify that one more time. So far, we have received $15.747 million, including the $259,000 in interest income. We have committed $4.595 million to the 11 projects and programs, which will leave us available projected fund balance in 11.152 million, which can be utilized for future projects and programs.
Okay.
We have 11.152 millions left.
Okay.
Yeah.
That we can.
Including the interest earnings. After the committed $4.595 million that we already set aside. The 11 million is not included the 4.5. It's already subtracted 4.595 million that committed to those projects. I hope that clarified the
Okay,
questions.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we vote on accepting the report? Okay. Well, our next adventure is the minutes. If the minutes will be approved.
I motion it.
I second it.
Member Hernandez,
Yes.
Member Marta Carcamo,
Yes. Yes.
Member Orozco,
Yes.
Member Rodriguez,
Yes.
Member Wen,
Yes.
Vice Chair Jackson,
Yes.
motion passes.
Our next meeting will be when?
Mr. Vice Chair, there's a communication that I want to update the SOC members on. The next meeting, since you're on item 2 of communications, the next meeting of July 8 is canceled due to the 4th of July festivities. So the following next subsequent meeting would be the meeting of August. And I don't have the calendar in front of me. That would be August.
The first Tuesday is 5th, second Tuesday is the 12th.
August 12th. August 12th.
August 12th.
August 12th. Okay.
August 12th. And so if I may provide the communication item, Mr. Vice Chair.
Yes.
Wanted to update the SOC on a policy that council has brought into consideration as part of the 25-26 budget development. They will consider this policy at the upcoming council meeting of next week of June 18th. And that is that they want to ensure and secure that the review and oversight jurisdiction of the SOC committee, that it be for the $6 million that was estimated to be derived from Measure BP as the estimate, and that up to that dollar amount, the SOC committee will have the review and recommendation jurisdiction. Anything that is above the 6 million, including the interest that is earned from the investment of the revenue, that will be under direct oversight of the city council. So on any given year, let's say this current year or the fiscal year that's about to end in June, if the total revenue for this fiscal year was 7.2 million, that the 1.2 million above the 6 million would fall under the direct oversight and jurisdiction of the city council. And that ensures that the 6 million that would be under the review and recommendation jurisdiction of the SOC committee. So they will take up this policy at the next council meeting in connection with the 25-26 budget approval that's coming up.
So Enrique, does that mean that that would go into the general fund for the city then?
It would go for well, keep in mind that the Measure BP is a general purpose fund. And by our actions, we cannot make it appear like it's a special tax, because a special tax is one in which can only be directed for one specific or a specific purpose. This is a general tax. So we cannot appear to be restricted. I know that we watch how we end up allocating it, but it cannot just be for public safety. It cannot just be for recreation. It has to have multiple purposes because it's a general fund, a general purpose. Otherwise, we would have had to have make it a special tax, which would have required a 2/3 majority to pass. This was a simple majority. So the city council can allocate it pretty much in any one purpose. Any one purpose.
So this fiscal year that ends in June, are we looking at 6.5 million or 6.5?
I think total year, this year, Rose, would you estimate the revenue to be 7.2 million?
Okay, so this fiscal year.
I can provide the information. This year, we are going to project it ending June 30. We're going to project it at least 7.5 or little bit higher in total sales tax revenue.
Okay.
And we're going to project it about $150,000 for interest income. So together, we will have about $7.7 million together, which, as Enrique mentioned, the policy is going to be set in the next meeting, and we will still keep 6 million every single year for your review and direction. That 6 million will be utilized to benefit the community.
So essentially it's capped, that we are capped.
Yes.
6 million.
Or,
Right.
no, we have 4 minutes here, Enriquez. $6 million a year. I know we had the city meeting with the district. We had a second meeting with them. Can you give us a quick synopsis where the next step is going now, or?
Yeah, thank you, Member Orozco. So we, from the collaborative meeting, actually the meeting we had with the sports organizations, from there was a subsequent meeting of the collaborative, the 2 members of the council and the 2 members of the school board. And they gave us they gave us direction to prepare essentially a draft, a joint use agreement for Olive Middle School. So quite a significant step. It's direction, but that way we can present it to our respective full bodies. We to the city council, and then the staff at the superintendent staff to the Board of Education. And so the next step for us will be sometime the second meeting in July or soon thereafter. We will come to the staff, to the city council, to seek direction by the full city council to enter into negotiations for a joint use agreement with the school district. So pretty significant.
Last thing I have before we leave, I try to add something to our next meeting was funding for the kids scholarship program that we have at the park and that. And I don't know if I missed a step or something, but I'll go with Shirley on that, because the funding for the scholarship funds for the kids to get reimbursed for their registration, et cetera, that money has expired. And so now they're wondering if that's going to be reinstated or not. And do I need to do something, Shirley, to get that added to the agenda, or do I need to stand in front? What was that?
Let's be on the next one.
Okay.
Would like to ask a quick question. I believe you are talking about the ARPA fund.
That is correct.
Whatever has been allocated to that program or obligated, and it will be there, but anything has been obligated and we cannot extend the program with the ARPA fund. We have to seek other source to continue that, because ARPA fund has a requirement that when we have to utilize and obligate the fund, and we have to obligate all the funding by December 31st, 2024. I just want to mention that to all the members here.
Okay. That's why I'm seeking funding from the SOC committee.
Good. I just want to clarify.
You can
Thank
give us
you.
direction for us to prepare some sort of conceptual idea of how that could be structured for the SOC to consider it as a request. So maybe a 2-step thing, or maybe we can just come back with a concept that you can approve.
Okay. I'll go with Manny because it's already set up. We just got to put the right name in front of it. I think just change it from ARPA to SOC and request this funding that we've always had.
Sure, we could go ahead and discuss that, and I'll also discuss that with our finance director and make sure we abide by all the policies and procedures. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank everyone for the stockholder meeting, and now we're coming to a close.
Hey.
Thank you.
Do you have to rush on this? You have to have or something or something. That's good.
Good.